immediate reaction?
Welcome to the Real Chili Podcast.
And the Golden Eagles of Marquette University in Milwaukee are bound for the Final Four for only the third time ever.
5 seconds left. Marquette down by 1, trying to avoid the upset. Blue the drive, the left hand. It's good. 1 second to play. Vander Blue has put Marquette in front by 1.
And I want to win every day as basketball players, as students, and I want to win every day, most importantly, as people.
All right, do it. Yep.
That's us.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Real Chili Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Lavender. We are doing this live on YouTube immediately following Marquette's 99-57 victory over the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. Golden Lions. If you're listening to us on iTunes, if you're listening to us on SoundCloud, go to our YouTube channel, the Marquette Basketball Podcast, and subscribe right now. You're going to want to see us do this show live someday. So please go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. But fellas, we just got off the first game of the year, the first win of the year. And neighbor Pete Mohan, Eric Pond, let's open it up right here. We expected it, but this is a completely different team than we saw last season, a completely different energy, so many new faces. I got to say, neighbor Pete, I loved what I saw. I know it was a subpar opponent, and we'll get to that, but I liked what I saw from this team in this game.
So did I, and you got to start with our heralded freshman, Dawson Garcia, leads the way in points. Was very quick in his decision making whenever he got the ball. Led the team in assists as well, I believe, with 4. Great debut from him and the other guys as well. Just an awesome overall team performance. Made those Golden Lions look like little kitties out there.
Now, Eric, As folks know, the text chain was firing on all cylinders tonight. Eric, what was the thing
It was hot.
It was hot, super hot. B. Henry flying down 94 in the Chrysler 200, texting while driving. Eric, what jumped out at you when you were watching this? Kind of your first impressions, because there were a lot. It felt like to me in the first 4 minutes of the game.
Yeah, I'm going to start this game as you kind of just teased with a little ode to Brian Henry with what I think he would start this pod with. Mike, it's Thanksgiving tonight, and ladies and gentlemen, this team feasted. This Marquette
The big
team,
dogs ate.
That's Bubbles. Imagine that in your Bubbles voice, ladies and gentlemen of Real Chili Nation. I mean, the first couple minutes after losing 6 of 7 to end last season, it was a complete palate cleanser that we've really waited a year for. And we saw a team really come out brimming with talent, a team that was completely different from what we had seen last year in really, its style of play, its energy, its excitement, its construction, from Theo and Jamal, the seniors kind of coming back to this team, to a healthy Greg Elliott, to again just the amazing newcomers to the squad. Mm-hmm. It was exciting. There was a I think from 17 minutes to like 15 minutes, we saw Justin Lewis and Dawson Garcia really just dominate, with DJ Carton as well looking selfless as a creator and a distributor. And it was 5 minutes of therapy to start the game.
So let's take it here. For folks listening, a few days from now, we are reacting 15 minutes after the game ended. So we've got the box scores up here, but we haven't done the 24-hour post-analysis and slept on it. So I don't want to say take it with a grain of salt, but understand we're reacting within 30 minutes after the game. Let's start here, fellas. Pete Mohan, I'm going to throw it to you. Let's start by talking a little bit about, I know we want to get to the newcomers because there's so much to say, but I don't know if you can start anywhere else but what Jamal Cain did in this game. Jamal Cain, I've never been a detractor of Jamal Cain's, but I never saw the path for him to take a leap. And I think tonight I maybe saw some of that for the first time from my perspective. Jamal finished with 16 points. He was 4 of 4 from the line, 2 of 8 from 3, and 5 of 12 from the field. But it felt to me like he was confident in this game in a way that he hasn't. And he appeared on the court. He stood out on the court. You didn't lose him during the course of the game. Did you see that too, Pete Mohan?
I think you could tell that he performed like a senior. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he was comfortable out there on the floor, comfortable with his teammates, and he looked. I would say it was the first time I saw Jamal really without any sign of hesitation. There's a couple times where he just pulled up and let it fly, which. Maybe on a team with Markus, or even going back further with the Hausers, that's a roster where maybe the coaches want the shots to go to certain players. But it seemed like Jamal, I don't want to say had the green light. He did lead the team in shots taken. But I will say it looked like he was comfortable just shooting when he felt like he was able to make a shot in this offense, which I think is something that's new for him. I mean, when you're a senior, hopefully you've got that, or you've earned that opportunity. And I think Jamal has at least proved his worth on the defensive end, and with his rebounding abilities to at least earn some, I don't want to say free reign, but at least some leeway on the offensive end to take the shots that he is comfortable with. So I'm glad that he has that opportunity and has been at least show that he is capable of functioning within the rhythm of the offense and feeling like he can let it fly from time to time.
One of the things I noticed about Jamal early on was that when they would, when the 5 guys would huddle up on the court immediately after a play, right before a free throw attempt, I was watching guys' eyes and they were looking at him. And he was being more vocal in that huddle on the court than I think I'd ever seen him, which you expect, as you progress in your career. But I thought that was an interesting dynamic and something to keep your eye on. And obviously, those guys are seniors now, and so you expect them to fill that role. Neighbor Pete, Theo John.
Yes, Mike.
Theo had a game.
I was hoping you'd ask me about Theo. Well, you go from Jamal to Theo, the guys that have been here the longest, and it was great to see them play so well tonight. And Theo was a man amongst boys. I mean, he was just picking up those little pine bluffers and squeezing them in his fists. And that dunk, that putback dunk, I hopped out of my chair a little bit and yelled something like this. Oh! It was just very, very exciting. And he dominated the glass. He dominated the paint. He hit his free throws, which is a great sign. If he can, he's not going to shoot. What was he?
9 of 10 from the free throw line.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
He's not going to be a 90% free throw shooter this year. But if he can go 75,
that would be enormous.
Awesome.
Are you kidding me?
Awesome. And he can stay on the court. It's fantastic for this team. He looks energized and healthy and ready to rock. So,
let's be real. No one on the Golden Lions was really putting pressure on Theo with regards to fouls and things like that. Right. But at the same time,
I love
it's good to
how
see Theo in his element.
Yeah, that coach, God bless him, whatever his name was. I saw that he was there for 13 years, but he was like, you know what, youngsters, we're going right into the paint every time. We're going at them.
We're getting Theo in foul trouble, and we're winning this thing.
We're going right into those 2 7-footers, and we don't give a damn until we get some buckets. And they kept trying that every single time, pretty much every possession in the first half. And that's
Joshua
scored about 15 points in the first half.
Poor Joshua Johnson, 5'9". Joshua, Richard Pryor looking boy. That was unfortunate.
Yeah, I love that strategy on their end. I give him credit, but you might want to shoot some threes.
That's job security for that coach.
I think that is something that we haven't really broached. For those of you who didn't necessarily watch the game, or those of you, on the audio only, look, this is one of the worst teams in all of college basketball. Yeah. Ken Pom has them ranked in the bottom 10 teams, I believe, in all of college basketball. 4th worst, Eric says. And look, a lot of teams are going to look good against those guys.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. And, what you have to say, hey, we took care of business, beat the spread for those of you who had cash gold on this game. But, look, this we're going to learn a little bit more about this team in the next game. I think Eastern Illinois is not necessarily a good team, but definitely a step up in quality, step up in league. And I think that just in general, the good thing is that the guys looked comfortable out there against a weaker opponent, and they did what they had to do to push that other team around and impose their will against a team that they should. And that's all that you can really ask for in an opening game like this. They didn't look sluggish. They looked decently coached. They didn't look, anything negative necessarily other than beaten up on a cupcake. And I think, it's not worth a lot, but it's also better than the opposite, which is laying an egg on your home court in an opening game against a bad team, which they didn't do.
You look at what Butler did tonight or today. I'd much rather have what we did. Butler, again, much different team, much different quality of opponent, but I believe it was Western Michigan, came down to the wire. UConn beat up a little bit on Central Connecticut State, I think.
Great squad.
Right. You look at what we had tonight, and I think, again, going back to what I said a few minutes ago, it just felt like a palate cleanser and something that we actually needed after a really tough end of the season with what we experienced last year, a lot of turnover. And then like seeing what that did to this team and to, Marquette Nation tonight, we're overreacting, of course. Mohan, you're doing a good job grounding us. I saw DJ Carton run into the tunnel at halftime and about 3 trots in start sprinting with a huge smile on his face, seeing the camera. It's a completely different team with a completely different energy. In a game like this, while it doesn't mean a lot and things are going to get harder, much harder almost immediately for this team, it could be a little bit galvanizing. And again, it's the refresh button and the fresh start, and it really does start to feel like this is a completely new team with a completely new identity, and we're starting with a awesome performance that people can get hyped about. Like, it's important, a cupcake, but an important cupcake.
So we talked a little bit about a couple of returning players. So I think we covered the main ones for this game, Jamal and Theo. We do need to talk about the new players who I think provided that lifeblood and that new energy. Before we do that, to our 20 or so live viewers right now, hop on in the comments, ask us questions, tell us what you want to hear us debate. We may get to a fun debate in the junk drawer. Anyway, feel free to chime in there. Eric and Pete, Mohan, to your points, DJ Carton, Justin Lewis, I think those are honestly Oso in the second half. I thought played some really good minutes, incredible size. I kept looking, thinking it was Brendan Bailey out there for a second. Then I'm like, well, Brendan Bailey never did that.
I was just gonna say, like, who was out there watching this game and like, I really wish we had Brendan Bailey out there.
I miss Brendan.
No,
I mean, no disrespect to Brendan, but at the same time, he was a guy that I wouldn't say accelerated the pace of play or the flow of the basketball. And that to dovetail with our rundown and talk about what we've been talking about, like these guys seemed like they are excited about passing the ball and excited about making the defense move, which I don't know necessarily that that's something that the Marquette teams of the past few years did. It is dismorph the defenses of other teams. And I think that we have, first of all, some players that physically, pose some mismatches that can do that on their own. But it just seems like with this squad that the ball is destined to move a lot more, especially without Marcus in the lineup.
Yeah, that was the most impressive thing to me tonight overall from a team's perspective was the lack of bad shots and forced shots. I can't remember one forced shot the entire night. Mm-hmm. And especially with so many newcomers and playing against a zone, albeit a very shitty zone, the game plan was correct. They got the ball to Dawson or in the middle, and Dawson was making quick decisions. And everybody, the ball never stuck. And it got in, whether it got to Dawson or got into the low block, Theo was getting back out to the wing quickly for good perimeter shots and good perimeter ball movement. It was a beautiful thing to see. And be still my heart for DJ Carton. I love DJ Carton. He is the kind of player that brings teams to a next level. He just plays a winning brand of basketball. The way that he can control the tempo of the game, the way his athleticism, he leads the nation in out of bounds steals. That's for sure. After tonight, he can finish in transition. He always looks confident out there. Yes, he's going to turn it over sometimes, and his shot will come. But I'm enamored with
his
DJ
passing ability was evident from the first few minutes, and the motor. I hate that phrase sometimes, but he plays with a motor that we just haven't seen. It was impressive.
And I will say, I just did change the setting to allow live chat theoretically. So let me know if that updates. But anyways, continue, friends.
Yeah, DJ Carton, so exciting to me as well. I know this was hot in the group chat as we were going through. or the text chain here with the Real Chili Bros as we were going through the progression of the game. But man, I mean, he just looks like a free safety out there sometimes. Like with his quickness on inbound steals, his defense is incredible. His motor, he's deceptively quick. Hate to do a cheap NBA comparison because he actually his offensive capability and his ceiling is so much higher than this, but almost a Marcus Smart in some ways, or a Malcolm Brogdon in another. Malcolm's not really a point guard, but my God, like he just produces everywhere. And when you look at the box score, he had 3 points. If you tell me rewatching that game or watching that game and coming out of it saying, some DJ scored 3, I would say no way. No, he didn't. Like his impact on the game is so much bigger. And generally, Mohan, I want to go back to your point about Brendan Bailey because I thought about this very seriously through the first 30.
We really had to talk about Brendan Bailey.
So this is what I
thought we were done.
35
well, I mean, he got
game.
drafted in the first round, right?
He
didn't?
Right.
No,
wait, no? Oh. First, 30. I think he's playing in the BBB, the Big Baller Brand League.
They're going to say the Better Business Bureau League, which is like...
Yeah, he's working for Enterprise. And, it's a rec league.
No, but like 30 minutes through the game, I was like, man, like, poor guy. He's probably looking at this being like, wow, damn it. Like, honestly, Brendan Bailey maybe he was more prescient than we give him credit for and was like, I don't have a place necessarily on this team or I'm edged out. Like these guys are better than me. This young crop of freshmen, the way this team is going, I don't know. Like maybe he was just like, my minutes are going to be diminished. This is the high I have in my career at Marquette and things are only probably going to go down from here. It's a cynical way of looking at it, but I actually thought very seriously about that. Like this team is really built with a lot of much better, bigger, stronger Brendan Baileys. And that's kind of the way this has gone.
I mean, personally, I would if you just had the choice of, would you rather have Jamal Cain or Brendan Bailey for 20 minutes a game, 25 minutes a game? I think most of us would say Jamal. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think Jamal has obviously a little bit better energy. I think Brendan's stroke never really came together from 3-point, and Jamal has proven to be a pretty legitimate 3-point threat, on a few shots a game. But I mean, look, I am excited. Not that Brendan is gone, perhaps, but look, there's a lot of minutes for an interesting assortment of forwards that we have now. And Brendan was, one of these guys that's more of a shooting guard in a small forward or a power forward's body. And, we can talk about the roster makeup of this team a little bit more later on, but it seems like, I don't know, these guys in our forward positions moving forward, I'm really excited about these freshmen. I mean, It's a totally different dynamic on offense and defense, really. But it's a different offense now with these guys. They just bring a different spice and a different skill set.
I thought Justin Lewis and Oso, it was against the Golden Lions of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. So obviously we're taking that grain of salt, but the way they showed up, the way they kind of displayed a nose around the rim and were able to be there and be a part of the mix, it's interesting to think of how that can take pressure off Theo throughout the course of the season. If Theo gets himself in foul trouble, how we can kind of switch and move those guys in and may have a bit more of a cushion. Not saying those guys are Theo. I liked what I saw from Justin Lewis. I mean, he finished with 10 points, 4 fouls, a block, 4 rebounds. Oso had 4 boards as well. So I agree, Mohan. That's going to be interesting to watch those guys see how they develop. And the word that's coming to mind for those two guys in particular, and maybe the team as a whole, you could say confident, but they just felt assertive. Okay, we're going to pass the ball. We're just doing it. Or, we're going to do this. We're doing it. There wasn't questioning. There wasn't overthinking. And that was
how much would you say is that just basketball instinct ingrained into them versus how much is Wojo perfectly coaching them to be a ball movement type player?
Yeah, it's instinct. I mean, it's clear. I thought that when they got out on the court, Dawson and Justin, I mean, they look like basketball players. There's 2 6'9" guys that have jump shots, first of all, and can pass and have passing instincts and can visualize the right play to make in their mind when they get the basketball.
Mm-hmm.
That is completely different than what we've had, over the last, I don't know, who knows, 20 years. I don't know.
So I feel like that kind of begs the question. It's a little bit of a chicken and the egg question, but do we finally have the team that's molded in Wojo's vision and what he actually saw for his, his ideal Marquette basketball team? We have bigs who can pass. We have, pretty much an entirely switchable squad, at least, that's pretty much true up and down the roster. We have bigs with excellent vision and skill, with elite passing, or at least above average passing. We have players who know how to position their body on defense. We have Dawson Garcia, who can hit a shot seemingly from every defense and is vocal, talking and leading the team as a polished freshman. I mean, it just seems like perhaps we finally have a team molded in Wojo's vision. And I don't know. I feel like we at least need to, for as much shit as he's gotten through the years, give him a little credit here that this actually could be, the culmination of what he sought to be his team.
I agree. It's instinct, neighbor. Kind of building on Eric's point. I agree it's instinct, but I do think it's right that, Wojo set them on the right track to do this. So I agree. There's some degree of credit that needs to be offered to Wojo there.
I think
he got him here. So
he brought these players in, and
he got him here
to make the dish we just saw. Like, if you enjoyed the dish, you gotta like the cook, right?
I don't think any of us have ever questioned Wojo's recruiting ability really on the pod.
No.
I mean, in this past class, I think statistically might have been his best or highest ranked class. I believe it was the top class in the Big East. And then when you throw in Jose Perez, especially with the waiver, I mean, it becomes a pretty stalwart group coming in. But I think that we kind of touched on this in the last pod. I think the most interesting thing to watch is, which of these guys really shows those defensive instincts right off the bat. Obviously, they have length, and they'll be able to rely on that, the switchability that comes along with that. But there's other things. This comes out to lateral quickness, knowing how to play within team defense, knowing when to rotate and things like that. That we're going to have to wait and see against some tougher opponents. But I'm really curious to see. Like, obviously, Dawson, having played in those high-profile tournaments internationally and everything, he's an experienced and really pretty much a polished offensive player for his age. But I'm really looking to see who is our next standout and player who's willing to step up on defense. Because I don't think there's any question that we have enough talent on offense. Sure, we don't have a Markus who's shooting at volume 40% on threes this year, but there's enough talent on offense to get the job done. For me, it's a matter of who in the front court is willing to step up. And I'm just curious to see where that emerges from these freshmen, because it's going to be necessary if they're playing so many minutes.
Yeah, I mean, so if you're rooting for this team, this was the step you wanted to see them take in this game.
Yeah.
Some of the unknown unknowns or known unknowns, whatever the fuck they are, who's going to be that guy who steps up who needs to step up in a clutch moment?
Who's making that big defensive play that
right.
Pinning the ball against the board when it's a 3-point game with 2 minutes left?
Get glassed.
Yeah. Who's getting glassed? Who's glassing that mo?
And so, I think obviously those are things that we're going to see. We're going to see them well before Christmas, that we can't answer now. The YouTube chat is just on fire. So
it is
popping off the charts. Of course. What else are people doing at 11:50? It's
Tom
Black Wednesday,
Fleming
baby.
is
in a roll. Throw back another shot and send us real chilly a question.
Well, this is I mean, it is. No one, presumably, no one's going out to a bar and they're just drinking at home tonight. I don't know about any.
Well, we have a Wisconsin fan.
I also want to point out in the YouTube chat our friend Sad and Bougie, which I believe is our buddy that was a guest the one time.
Oh, Griffin.
Yeah, I think that's his.
Griffin?
I think that's his tag there. So shout out.
What's up, Griffin?
Shout out the homie Griffin.
What's up, Griffin?
For being a ride or die for the pod.
So a lot of comments, in here. But one question that I do want to touch on before we kind of begin to wrap up here and get to the junk drawer. Did you guys think Theo looked more athletic, more athletic than he has in the past?
I think some people said that he had dropped about 10 pounds or something like that. Different body shape out of Theo to improve his lateral quickness, etc. But yeah, I agree. He did look a little more nimble out there.
Well, no matter if he did or not, it was still a bad idea by that one guy to half throw a punch at him.
Posey.
Perfect name.
You also saw some of Theo's like composure and some of his. I feel like some of his just maturity. I mean, freshman Theo, what's he doing? He's fucking rocketing that guy into the raft. Like, that guy is dead right now.
Uppercut.
And this, I mean, I texted the chain. It was a sad moment in the game. That kid is from Milwaukee.
Yeah.
No one wanted to see him throw out. Theo didn't want to see him thrown out. Like, Theo literally looked like he was like telling the ref, hey, listen, he wasn't doing nothing. Just tell him, this was nothing. But Theo, it's indisputable through the game, but you start at the second half and then go on from that incident under the rim with Posey. He was just unbelievable. He definitely looks more svelte. The guy is flying up and down the court. And actually, I mean, it's just one of the things that's most exciting about this team. Our bigs, we're not Ed Morrow and Jace Johnson lumbering trees up and down the court anymore. We are flying, and Theo being what he is now and looking like he does this year in 2020, it's super exciting.
I'm just curious to see is Theo going to rectify his ball handling issues on offense? I mean, there's times where he just has brainless turnovers. I mean, if he can cut those even in half this year, that's an extra possession per game or so that we're getting back. And, I don't think it really showed itself in this game, but I think it's something that we all need to keep track of, because Theo, I mean, look, he's a imposing player on the defensive end and he's got some decent offensive moves, but if the guy is getting the ball on offense and turning it over, that's a wasted possession. So, and we need more out of our seniors, right? So, look, we got to just hold Theo to a little bit higher standard. I think that we should expect him to be a defensive standout, but this is his last year here, and we got to press for a little more out of Theo than just acceptable play. Not that that's what this game was, but that's what I'm going to be a hard ass on Theo this year because I expect a lot out of him.
All right, so shifting here in our final minutes, our loyal listeners will know well by now the junk drawer, sometimes called the drunk drawer, segment of the pod. Eric, I'm going to turn it over to you. I know you got some good things cooking. What do you got for us?
Pull them out.
Drawer's been filling up through the game, my dudes and Real Chili Nation. I do want to, though, again, in the spirit of sort of engaging the listeners, give a shout out to John Monaco at J_MD_MD, who we presume is Dr. John. That's what we're going to call him. He threw out an idea on Twitter. Junk drawer, Jeff Levering and Dickie's off-the-court relationship. Dickie Simpkins, of course, he's referring to. Friendly, ? Professional, ? Can't stand each other, ? Levering always has plans and can't meet for dinner. Such a great junk drawer submission. It just has to be thrown out. So what do you guys think?
Yeah.
I mean, Dickie Simpkins has to be probably frequenting higher dollar establishments. He, of course, What? He was a great.
Levering's not trying to throw the visa around like Dickey is, I guess. Huh?
Right. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
You
I'm
think
thinking
Dickey's got that like
Levering,
NBA retirement kind of cash flow, and Levering's like,
yeah,
look,
maybe
I'm just
Levering-
like the third tier FS1 like
maybe he's too humble. Yeah, right. He's like the Brewers, like FS1 Wisconsin. I don't know. He's traveling around.
Not that like
lucky to get on
Wisconsin.
FS1.
Yeah, well, I mean, what do you think?
Milwaukee
He's like actually two. He's got two. Like he's a humble Midwestern guy. He's like, I don't want to go out and have this guy pay for me yet again. Like what is he doing? He's just like a. What do you think?
Maybe Dickey is making some unwanted advances. You never know.
All I know is I could listen to
Dickie
Dickey.
Dinkins trying to
I could listen to Dickey talk about technological advances in society for just hours.
Yeah.
When he was on that Zoom kick, talking about how much he loved Zoom and how impressed he was by Zoom, I was lost in Dickey.
Am I the only one to say that Dickie Simpkins is the Elon Musk of FS1 color commentators? I mean, he is just,
or
far and away a genius.
Also, I don't know if you guys did. I just miss this last year. I saw Titus and Tate are now doing the Fox College Hoops post game this year. I assume that's just like Fox's gain from the Ringers layoff. So thanks a lot to Spotify. But
I think we're
going to keep on the
face
media
of the
angle
post
for the
game.
Junk Drawer this year. Is that?
What's that, Eric?
I said I assume that's just because of Spotify acquiring Ringer and laying off a lot of their sort of personalities. But was that something that happened last year? Did I just miss that?
Yeah, they left the Ringer. I don't know. I kind of felt at the time that it was more so that college basketball just wasn't a fit for what the Ringer was trying to do. Right? They're just not.
You had to be a big Celtics fan to stay online.
I got one thing. I got one thing to add to the junk drawer. It's it might be a little drawer within a drawer. The random tweet by an old Marquette player, and this was from, you guys might remember him from highly rated recruit and not so highly rated player, decent, but not nearly as didn't meet expectations. One Juwan Johnson today tweets, "I need a watch." So I don't know if he's just being late to everywhere he goes, Juwan. Are you tardy to your various obligations, or do you just want a cool looking watch? I would like to know more about that, Juwan. So if you're listening, please give us more details.
I got a question. Was it spelled WANT space A watch, or was it WANNA watch? I wanna watch, because he could have been wanting to watch the game. How did he spell it?
Yeah, please.
No, he said, "I need a watch. I need a watch."
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Well, coincidentally, I don't know if it's because the hour's getting later, but our viewers continue to drop throughout the course of the conversation.
I know, this is the climax right here. Juwan Johnson's lack of big faces on his wrist is
By the way, happy birthday, Trent Blackledge, who I believe celebrated his birthday a few days ago.
I hope he's just swimming in red milk tonight.
I wish I could send him a red milk via the Catch app or whatever that.
What I would give
What's
to
the
ride a
milk?
limo with him again.
He's bathing in red milk.
Hey, I will say Trent Blackledge, he played a pretty important role on some of the most recent Marquette alumni teams in the what you would call TBT.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he was on this past year's championship squad, but at least he helped us, push that boulder forward of progress in the TBT.
And I'd be willing to bet the best Golden Eagle ever named Lawrence.
Oh, that reminds me, junk drawer wise, I didn't really have anything, but something that we haven't broached in the podcast so far this year through 2 episodes is that some off-season news. The Golden Eagle was officially named Iggy, as in Ignatius, I-G-G-Y, Iggy. Previously unnamed, hence the name of the blog Anonymous Eagle, was the fact that we had an eagle as a mascot with no name, and that's why the name Anonymous Eagle for the blog. but no longer nameless. His name is Iggy, and Eric actually forwarded an image, apparently, that Iggy's been getting busy on the dating apps.
Jeez.
He may have been flirting with, I think Iggy could be either a male or female name, but apparently, according to the screen cap that Eric sent, Iggy has been rather flirtatious with the women folk on the dating apps. So just keep an eye out. Remember, this is a human being inside. So those of you who are actually looking for an eagle out there, I would steer away from Iggy. It's just a person inside an eagle costume. So if you're actually out there looking to date an eagle, perhaps maybe look elsewhere. That's my junk drawer contribution.
With that, I know we've got
catfish eagles out there, if you will.
I know we've got Anonymous Eagle himself tuned in tonight, so maybe he can give us an update on the rebranding or naming situation, if there is one, next time he's on the pod.
Oh, wait, hold on. Tom Fleming wants to know, what's our go-to order at Doghouse? Does anyone want to go around that before we sign off?
Well, that was a little bit, but after our time, that's the problem. I have been there a couple times, but I couldn't say that I have a staple. Although I'd have to go just a standard, give me a few varieties of chili with a chili and call it a night. But that's the best I can do right now. Sorry, Tom.
I think it opened when I was a senior. So for all of you, I'm 1 year behind my three brethren here on the Real Chili podcast in terms of our graduation years. I want to say it opened my senior year. Went a few times. It was good. I was probably inebriated enough not to actually know if it was actually that good. So I'm going to say it was probably just as good as Real Chili, to be honest.
I will say I did stick around Milwaukee for a bit after college. So I would say I've actually been to the Doghouse on Brady Street more frequently than the one on campus. Mm-hmm. Can't go wrong with the cheese fries. Can't go wrong with the cheese fries.
Yeah, I feel like those were good there.
Good call. And I want to say I'm not a Chicago guy. I'm a Detroit guy, but I will say they had a decent Chicago dog for Doghouse. So
all right,
what I'm going for, Tom. Hey, shout out to Tom Fleming. Mike, I know you want to keep things moving along, but we have to say we got to shout out to these people in our comments.
Yeah, exactly.
These are the true hardcore Marquette fans that are here with us live, and those are our priority.
It's Black Wednesday. We're all at home. No one's at the bars tonight, unless you're, I don't know, at the bars and planning on going to the Doghouse later. But, I agree. This might not make any fucking sense to the people listening to this podcast like tomorrow on their way to grandma's house or whatever, cooking a turkey. But shout out to the now 11 listeners we have who've stuck with us through this nonsense. So,
all right. So thanks for those of you for tuning into this episode. Marquette faces off against the Eastern Illinois Panthers tomorrow now, Eastern time, Friday, November 27th. That game tips off at 7 Eastern, 6 Central. We actually haven't discussed our post-game plans for that one, but we'll figure something out. Hopefully we'll be live post-game. If not, look for us probably again sometime this weekend. But thanks, as always, for tuning in to the Real Chili podcast. Thanks for tuning in live. And if you're listening to this after the fact on iTunes or on SoundCloud or even on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can always get our live notifications. I'm your host, Mike Lavender, signing off for Pete Mohan, Pete Neighborworth, and Eric Pond. We'll talk to you next time here on the Real Chili podcast.
We're thankful for you, and we love you.